Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's good to see you. Another Wednesday night. I'm here with my brothers in the Glorious Dead for the third installment to our Glorious Album Club. It seems like you folks are enjoying these installments. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. And this week, TJ, our intrepid leader, picked W.A.S.P's 2001 release, Unholy Terror. Before I guess I get going into history, what made you choose that one, TJ? Out of curiosity.
Well, I was kind of looking through some suggestions in Spotify, trying to think of something that was going to be a little out of left field for all of us, because it's not like W.A.S.P is a go-to band for any of us really. And
I listen to them a lot more than you guys do, for sure.
Sure,
more than you think. I mean, I do enjoy W.A.S.P.
I don't know if I'd want to meet a person whose main band is W.A.S.P. But
well, I guess it depends on the person. I mean, on which part. I mean, because there's like two versions of that band. I mean, you go back to the beginning, and there's Under the Command and Blind in Texas W.A.S.P. That's all smothered in blood and whores and whatever, and then there's like where we are with this record and stuff, where it's all kind of grown up and
we got shit to say.
Yeah, it's totally different. So I don't know. I mean, it's So I just
Blackie changed his perspective a bit the older he got.
Sure,
very much. I mean, so.
At one point, I think it's past this album, he got born again and started writing little different lyrical concepts. Well, I think he even came out and said he lamented some of the shit he said on old albums, but that could be.
I was reading a little bit, and he won't play Animal live anymore, and he's like self-censored. What's up? And he's self-censored. He has taken different approaches to some of the old material. So, and I can appreciate that. He's still going out and doing whatever, but what he does now is so far and away different from what that early band even was. And so, but I just thought it would be, something.
Do you think it's different though? I mean, I've got the first two on vinyl. I've got the first three. 2 on vinyl and 1 on tape. What they're doing now isn't that different from what sounds like W.A.S.P.
Oh no, I don't mean so much stylistically as it is, what the content of what it is, of what he's trying to say. I mean, you've got it's just more grown up. It's just not this kind of juvenile, juvenile torture rack and cheesy skeletons and stuff. It's just not the same band anymore. It's just not the same approach. And the songs, I mean, the music is still, I mean, I think the songs are definitely more, there's a lot more, he's trying to say a lot more musically for sure, but I digress. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, well, back up.
Let's talk about the history real quick for people that are not acclimated to W.A.S.P. Well, they started formed in 1982 with Blackie Lawless and Randy Piper, who was on the first 3 albums. They came out of the defunct band Circus Circus. Yep. W.A.S.P. and The Last Command both sold over 12 million albums worldwide and were both certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America. They never seemed to achieve that level of notoriety after that fact, but they were very much a constant target for the PMRC going through the 80s. They're basically known as a shock rock band. But they had the Half Naked Woman on the Rack and the Blood, and their first release was the Animal Fuck Like a Beast single, which had obviously a controversial subject, controversial album cover. They went through the 80s very much riding high on the cusp of the MTV generation. I
just want to interject really quick too. I think Animal, I read that was forcibly eliminated from the U.S. release.
That's what
first U.S. release of that album, because it was just things were so intense around that band back then. I think Blackie had to have the FBI living with him for about a month because he was getting so many.
He was shot.
Death threats.
Somebody tried to somebody tried to shoot him twice.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
It was really, really intense.
Yeah, I'd want to shoot him too, going to see him live and have him turn around and show that pasty, sweaty ass of his. He always wore those tight spandex with no ass in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the overview of the history of the band. We are going to be talking about Unholy Terror. Came out in 2001 tonight. A little bit of album history. That album was recorded at Indigo Ranch in Malibu, California, and mastered at Precision Mastering, which who the fuck knows where that is.
Yeah.
They started working on the album. They started recording the album in December 99 and completed it in January 2001. And you know what I did not do is pull up our little sheet here of our talking points here. Uno momento.
I got it.
So I guess TJ will. Is there anything else we should add before we get into this? Did I miss anything?
Well, a fun factoid that I learned is Blackie Lawless was originally slated to play the T-1000 Terminator,
Yes.
and Arnold Schwarzenegger said he was too tall.
Yep.
and I'm still trying to picture that in my head. I just can't. I can't even. I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
I think if he had landed that role, W.A.S.P would be absolutely massive now. I mean, they always were pretty popular, but I feel like they're not like, they're not like.
It would have been interesting
big
to
as some
see
of the glam.
Well, right. It would have been interesting to see what came of it. I mean, to what ends, because some guys, I mean, you look at like, who's that guy, the singer from Bush? He was in that Constantine movie, and
Gavin Ward.
Yeah, Gavin, and that didn't go anywhere for him,
Yeah,
so
not Ward, Gavin.
Right, maybe T2 would have been a huge flop if Blackie was the
right.
T1000. So
right. I mean, look at that movie Runaway with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons in it. If you've never seen that, do yourself a favor. It's just excellent sci-fi. A lot of fun. Gene Simmons, of course, playing the bad guy. Imagine that.
Sure.
With he's got a fancy gun that shoots human-seeking missile bullets and little robot spiders and whatever. But a lot of musicians have made that. Some take off and others not so much.
Yep.
Sure.
Anybody else noticing TJ's underwater?
It's back, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
We still struggle here and there with some audio
like
stuff.
He dropped his cell phone in the pool to have a conversation with someone.
We'll get it figured out, folks. But you can hear them. It's all good. No worries.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like the first night where it was like bodies being dragged across the floor and yeah.
Well, I can't. I live out in the woods. I got what I got, man.
Right.
You got to get that Starlink there, buddy.
I'm telling you.
There you go.
If
Imagine.
only. If only.
I try not to.
Well, TJ, we'll start off with you. First impression of Unholy Terror.
I came away absolutely loving this record. I picked it at random. I thought, it's kind of in the middle, sort of, and just picked it at random. And I hadn't listened to W.A.S.P in such a long time, and I always liked Blackie's voice and the band and stuff, but it was so tied to that 80s image. I think that's kind of why I just kind of dismissed them a long time ago, and I knew all the stuff about where Blackie is now, and I think I might have heard little pieces of Crimson Idol and stuff, but never really.
Great album.
Yeah, and never paid any attention. And I put and I think I've listened to this record 6 or 8 times now, and I'm going back and listening to other stuff. I was listening to it before we started the broadcast, and I was watching the video, and I'm just like, I'm like, man, this is really good, and you know, just kind of, and it is. It's just it's so much more mature than I remember them being, and the songs are way more thought out. It's still, you know, you go back early. I mean, it's, you know, it's all kind of rock and roll sound and riffs. You know, it's all kind of, you know, reminds me of Motorhead in spots. You know, a lot more solid double bass drumming and on this album versus like in the early stuff. He didn't seem to know how to use his double bass pedals at all, so he was doing, you know, he was kind of falling all over the place with it, you know. But
there's a lot of interesting drum work on this album. I noticed too. It's questionable production, but it's cool.
Yeah, I definitely, my first impressions are, you know, this, I'm probably going to be adding this one to my collection. I'm pretty going to go buy one. So,
Chris F., what do you think? What are your first impressions?
I hadn't realized that W.A.S.P was still a band until Teej's suggestion. I had heard the first couple of tapes. I mean, we're talking tapes, you know, in the 80s through the Walkman. And I really liked them back in the day. And I tried going back and re-listening to those albums. I couldn't remember which album it was. It was definitely the first couple of albums, just based on the era when I listened to them. But I was really surprised at how good of an album this was. And I mean, first I was shocked that there was a 2001 album, let alone several albums after that.
But, 2015 is their latest.
2019.
I thought, gosh. I mean,
there's 2019.
He's got a re-release or something coming out, I think.
Yeah, they're doing a Crimson Idol anniversary redo or something.
Golgotha or whatever. Who knows?
Golgotha.
Yeah, Golgotha is the latest one, I think. But Chris B.
Yeah, kind of like you guys. I didn't know anything about W.A.S.P. really. I mean, I knew that they exist. I knew the hits. I knew just a very few things about W.A.S.P. I knew that there was this big weird guy who was their front man, and I knew there was rotten meat at one point in the shows. I know there was lots of weird sex stuff, and I don't know, they always just kind of they weren't really my cup of tea. But I kind of started listening to this a little bit. I started off with the first album, and it's cool. I still get that like LOVE. It's that's the Love Machine. That's a fantastic song, and
it's a great album. It's a great album.
It really is, and it's just a great party companion, and it's a great time capsule of what was going on in the 80s, and that was really cool. And I started watching some interviews and stuff, and I was kind of surprised. They, at the relative depth that came later, Headless Children is like amazing. I think an album they really did kind of keep on trucking through the 90s and 2000s. Crimson Idol. I ended up, and then I think even though this album came several albums later, I think this album is kind of a continuation of Headless Children and Crimson Idol. I didn't realize they got so socio-political, religious. You know, it's they matured. So I've been enjoying this a lot myself.
I listened to Headless Children yesterday, and I forgot how good the cover of the Who's "Real Me." It's a great song, and they did a great job on it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when, but they do a great cover of Uriah Heep's "Easy Living" too, and that kind of like made me like them a little bit more too. It's like, oh, they like the good stuff, you know. And Blackie's got a tremendous voice, obviously. So.
Yeah, he does.
All right, my first impression. I've always been, I can't say a huge W.A.S.P. fan because I've only got the first three, and I've got Headless Children and Crimson Idol. Oh, I also have Eldorado, and I think the Sting live DVD. But that's about all I have. And honestly, I just kind of fallen. You know, I just got Headless Children and Crimson Idol last year and kicked myself because they're both great fucking albums. But you know, the post 2000 albums I have pretty much, you know, have just off my radar. And listening to this, I was instantly blown away and reminded why I really like W.A.S.P. I mean, there is no denying Blackie Lawless. I mean, he is the heart and soul of that band because his vocals sound like no one else. He is, like a lot of these old metal bands, they all come out and had their own unique spin on music, which still happens today, but maybe isn't as much of a thing as it used to be because there's so many bands and they're all influenced by different eras of metal, and so you get a lot of sameness here and there, which that's neither here nor there. But W.A.S.P. had a very unique style, and what I really loved about this album is how he doubled his voice on a lot of it. It didn't. Yeah. It really brings out. He's got a lot of passion and desperation in his vocals that I listen to him do it, and I almost don't think he can do it live. It just seems like it's so strained and so at the edge of breaking apart, but it never does, and it's just so it's so powerful. It really adds a powerful thing to their music. And I will say, this might be getting down the road a little bit here, but there is a difference between Chris Holmes' W.A.S.P. and W.A.S.P. without him. Like on the Headless Children and Crimson Idol, I think Blackie wrote probably a majority of those albums. And you listen to him, he's still that character, that strong character, and his voice is still there. But you listen to the guitar work is different. It's a little bit more advanced. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say progressive, but it's a little more involved. The music they're writing is a little bit more involved, a little more orchestrated. Whereas Chris Holmes, he brought that really super sharp tone. I mean, his guitars sound like a buzzsaw, and his solos are just, they're kind of a mess, but they pierce so well. And he left the band. Here's another little snippet before we get into that. Chris Holmes, he left the band in August of '89, stating he just wanted to have fun, Yeah. And apparently he got married to Lita Ford at this time and was spending a lot of time with Lita Ford instead of touring and playing music. And Blackie made a comment saying, we want to work with people that want to rock instead of
called him a simp.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. He returned again. I mean, Chris Holmes, if you don't know, if you ever seen The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, that famous footage of him being interviewed in the pool where he's like downing a bottle of vodka, he is completely trashed out of his mind. I mean, I think that stains everybody's minds of how it is. He returned to the band in '96 through 2000. He did the Kill Fuck Die album. He did the Eldorado album, and another one. And then he's also slated as being on this album as well, though he claims in an interview he never played on this album, which I listened to it and I can't believe that because I listened to it. It seems like his tone is there.
It sounds like him to me. I mean,
he must have wrote some of the songs because that more of a loose and simplistic feel is there. So the album to me, after getting accustomed to the Headless Children and Crimson Idol, it seems more simplistic, more out front, more pure rock, metal, old metal style, in your face style. But I really liked it, and I think the album kind of benefited from it.
Yeah. They got to stop bringing those vodka hot tubs into the studio because Chris can't remember what albums he plays on.
Right.
He actually, when he left again in 2000, he said he wanted to concentrate on more blues-based music. And I guess he did a side project with Randy Piper, who was an early W.A.S.P. guitarist, and that didn't last long. And we all know what he's doing now. What he's doing now is hot garbage. It's him singing and it's he's got cancer, I guess. He's fighting the fight to try to get over that. More power to him. I hope he gets through it okay. But it's amazing that the dude's even still alive, to be completely. He's one of those guys that, how did he survive the 80s, man? I don't know.
Right. No, I was looking to here too. It's like they all crossed paths early on. It was like Ron Keel and Yngwie Malmsteen and all those guys were like trading bands way back in the day. But I think they were all sharing each other in, Los Angeles scene early on. They were all kind of, doing whatever back then. But no, man, that was, I agree with Marty. It's a really good record.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Which is ironic because, a song about getting ass for only so long.
Right.
We're doing on Heavy Metallurgy Friday night with King Fowley. We're talking about the whole Kiss catalog, and it's kind of embarrassing that 60-year-old men are still talking about their sexual prowess. It's kind of gross, to be completely fucking honest.
Right.
I don't want to think about that personally, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, 2 more here. Get caught up.
I think they're trying to be timeless with their writing, and that's why they'll be 80 still singing about their prowess.
Yeah, and then they'll be 80, and then Gene, his tongue will just be hanging out of his mouth from all the psych meds that he's on from the Alzheimer's. So he'll just be.
Here's a good point. Chris Holmes, in my opinion, is a generic overrated guitarist. Nothing, he's not a spectacular guitarist.
No,
what it does for me is his tone. He's got a really sharp tone that cuts, and
I think he was more of an enigma and a character, because it was Blackie and then Chris, and it was like, there was always kind of this presence, that he created that grew up around him. As a player, man, he's average, but you got, Blackie. Blackie is credited with writing all the songs on this record, and it's just a great record. These are great songs filled with a lot of emotion, a lot of thought, and Chris Holmes playing on it. It fits, it works. It's good. He knows how to get in there. Yeah, if
it's hard to say. Yeah.
Well, why credit the man with it unless he did it out of the goodness of his heart to cut him a paycheck? I don't even know why.
I don't even know why he would say he wasn't on it if he was. And I don't know. I've seen interviews where he's like pissed at Blackie Lawless. He says Blackie fucked me. So I don't know if that means financial. I mean, it doesn't mean literally, I'm sure, but he apparently feels like he didn't get all he had coming due. So. Next, style. How do you relate to this form of metal? Where does it sit in the pantheon, TJ?
Well, like we were saying before, we were talking. They stylistically, it still sounds like W.A.S.P from the first record to now to this record. But I don't. It's like the glam thing and stuff. It's like I don't know if that's an appropriate thing for them. Shock rock, I feel like, stylistically they have more in common with Kiss and Alice Cooper than they do with, Motley Crue or Poison or anything. And it's better music than a lot of that.
Definitely the theatrics were there,
Yeah, for sure. And, but as far as, they're definitely, this band came out, defined their sound and their style, and it still stands to this day. They're an original. They're not a clone or a carbon copy or trying to be somebody. They got to be there at the beginning, and still, to this day, it still holds on to that. And I think it fits perfectly in there. And I love to see how, like I said, I had gotten, I just kind of dismissed these guys a long time ago because just the whole 80s aesthetic, fuck like a beast and whatever. It's like, I don't care about any of that crap anymore. It's like, it's catchy and whatever, and then I hadn't listened and I listened to it now, and I'm like, man, this so different than, the content of what it is. So it, I think it's great. I think that he's taken the band and moved it right along with the times and still held on without sounding stale. I don't think.
Chris Fulton.
I definitely initially thought glam, with almost like scratching at the back of like almost into that thrash movement. It's almost to that point where it could be bits of thrash in there. That's kind of how I saw it. I see it more now as a metal rock sound with definite originality and like influences like T just said about Motorhead, and I hear early Queensryche in there.
Early Queensryche.
Mm-hmm.
I get the Motorhead. I guess I didn't hear the Queensryche. You know what? I might have the Headless Cross too. I might have bought that on tape. I don't know. I bought so much shit I forget. I don't listen to everything like I used to. But
I'm trying to think. Let's see. What song did I think had that? Charisma had kind of that early Queensryche sound to me that really stood out more than anything.
Yeah, if there was a progressive song, that would probably be it. You know, it had the whole split on 2 tracks kind of piece of music there. You know, yeah, I can see that. Kind of saunters along like some of that Queensryche does too.
And the little thing that he does.
I know. Is he like a dog? He's like, I don't know. I know. I noticed that too.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's of note. This being the album that came shortly after Blackie, you know, announced he had recently become born again, and how, you know, that's you're a shock rock band, and you got the weird sex stuff and the dark themes, and you know, that's a lot to surmount, you know, to stay the band that you were when you've got, you know, these new religious beliefs, and you're going to incorporate that into your music. And so that was just interesting. It's interesting to pick this one in the whatever the line of albums, but I think Blackie seamed it together pretty well. Ever the provocateur, Black, even though he's like in the church now, he still, you find him, you know, calling out the establishment a little bit and calling out the cult of personality mindset and how dangerous that can be. So he still keeps his edge. Yeah, I kind of found it interesting to hear him talking about anything that wasn't stripper oriented and partying. I guess of note, I did find interesting they did kind of come back to the roots a little bit with that Wasted White Boys song at the end. That song is a ripper. I love that song.
Yeah.
So that was cool too. I think they went through that transition pretty gracefully.
Well, I think he's really.
I like this album. It's a good album.
You see a lot. I think lyrically, you see a lot of searching going on. You see somebody really. You're seeing somebody that's really
bears his soul. You know.
Oh yeah. He's really coming to terms with a lot of his, you know, attitudes about certain things, and he's laying it all out there. And you know, some of it's just pure silliness. At least just the way, you know, because he's still leaning real hard on certain kind of tropes. You know, the relentlessly repeated catch lines, you know, who slayed Baby Jane, you know, and all that mess.
Oh yeah,
you know,
he did rhyme the word locomotive man with loco man. So yeah,
it's quite the rhyme.
It's not like it's all that serious, but yeah, he literally said the word loco.
Yeah, but still, it's still what you see you see the growth in it, and I mean. Mm-hmm. To me, it kind of took me back. I think it's really cool, and especially in context of this band and that the style that this band is.
Glenn, let me put this up here. He would have been better off starting a new band instead of keeping W.A.S.P since he is Christian. You know, I've heard that about a lot of other bands too. Like after Jeff Hanneman died, you know, Kerry King and Tom, they decided, well, mainly Kerry, decided to keep Slayer going. And I know why they're doing it. I know why Blackie's doing it. You spend your entire life building this band up only to make a change in your, you know, spiritual or your philosophical beliefs. You know, starting another band would be like starting at zero again. No one's going to give a fuck. Let's be honest. He had a solo career for a while when W.A.S.P broke up.
Yeah.
And I have not heard a fucking single thing from that.
Lasted 5 minutes.
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Same with Slayer. I mean, if Kerry gets back together and starts a new band and calls it Slayer, is it Slayer? No, but I see why he's doing it. I mean, it would be a marketing.
Is this the axe what slayed me?
Yeah. But as far as getting down to the, you know, the being reborn and stuff, Blackie Lawless is proven throughout the years that he is not a dumb guy. He's a super, super smart dude. He's very well spoken, and anything he's going to sing about of seriousness is going to have. You could tell he's got some thought behind it and a reason for it. And I mean, it wasn't too far away. Like on the Eldorado album, Chris Holmes was back for that. There's songs about sex on there, and they're gross. They're stupid. It's like, here's grown, ugly, gross ass men singing about fucking. You know, it's just like,
yeah.
It's just it comes to a point where that era is past. It may have had its time. I mean, it could be same could be said for Kiss. It had its time. You know, you grow up, you get older, things change. If you're still trying to live in that, what people think or what you think the band should be,
it's just sad,
it's
man.
like it's nothing. It's like you have nothing to fucking say. It's like now with W.A.S.P, he's got something to say. Whether you agree with it or not, it's irrelevant. If he puts some thought behind it, makes you think about it, then you know that's where it is. But for me, getting onto the style, you know, I look at W.A.S.P now as a metal band. They were, I think, very heavily classified as a glam band back in the day because they're an LA band. They came up during the Sunset Strip. Well, here. They came up during the Sunset Strip era, but you watch and listen to them. Yeah, they might have. They're more of a shock rock band. I mean, they're throwing raw meat out in the crowd. You know, Blackie had the skull. He dripped the blood all over himself. You know, it's kind of a piss take of Gene Simmons, but still, it got people talking about W.A.S.P on the scene. You know, holy shit. I think where they did The Last Command with Blind in Texas, he turned in the razor blades with feathers, and you know, they tried to do their hair a little bit differently and maybe try to fit within the confines of that scene because that's what was hot at the time. But still, you listen to Blind in Texas, you listen to songs like Widowmaker. What a great fucking song. It's on The Last Command. What a fucking awesome song. It's a slower song. There's nothing glam about that shit. It's kind of ballad-esque, but it's W.A.S.P. There's like a dirt to it that just does. Glam is more about the polish, you know, the cover.
Yeah,
it's more.
Their stuff just does not.
No,
you know, live in that hierarchy of bands. It just doesn't. I mean, even when they're trying to do something that sounds kind of artsy and pretty, it's still just not. It's more just, you know, head on rock music. You know, and even where. Go ahead.
Even at their most artsy and pretty, I mean, he's still dropping sweet lines like "I am the feces of the species." So you know, I mean, like right here. I just want to say that is that's probably the most
level.
Fucking awesome rock metal lyric I've ever heard. I think I'm gonna change my name to "Feces of the Species."
There's some good lines in that track. Actually, some of the stuff he says, you know. I am incest or whatever, you know. I mean, it's kind of profound, you know. It's really good.
I hear that as like castle times, you know, medieval era of what he's singing there. I don't know if anyone else picked up on that, but
sure.
No.
Yeah, for like the lineage and stuff like that, the bloodline and everything, and yeah. No, yeah, I mean he's got things to say, for sure.
Yep. Well, we already talked. Yeah. What's that?
Hot takes. He's got hot takes.
Yep. Hot takes
on the issues. You know.
Well, we've already discussed them, you know, being lumped in with the glam crowd. And do you feel that this album, does Holy Terror feel like a glam album? I don't think so at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
This is the band's 9th release. How does this album sit within their catalog? Is it on target? Does it fall from grace? Is it exceptional? Is it lacking? TJ.
Well, like I said, you know, I lost track. You know, I didn't keep up with these guys for a long time, and so I'm going back for the first 2 records, and then this, and then I'm playing catch up. And to me, you know, I'm hearing it sound like it is pretty on par with what he's been doing once he got to this point in his career, you know, Headless Children and all that stuff. You know, to me, I mean, this is definitely a record that, you know, because I was reading, he can be pretty critical of his own work, which I can appreciate. I know how I am with my own, and he should be proud of it. I think this record's great. I mean, you know, there's nothing groundbreaking about any of it. I mean, you know, like the little acoustic-y ballad there, Not ballad. No, the one before it. Hold on. I got to pull up my little cheat list here if I can find it. It's the Unholy Terror. He's just doing. It's just a cheap 3-note chord. Da na na, da na na. But then they use it to such great effect to do this kind of just really dark and creepy thing. It's real basic. It's real simple. But it just works. And then with Blackie's voice on it, his voice gives so much life to this record. It's just crazy.
He sells otherwise good, but not amazing rock songs. He takes a good foundation and pushes it to a higher level, I think, vocally. And by layering those vocals, doubling it lines here and there, it's a really cool effect. It's cool effect.
It's insane. There were points where it was like becoming so much. There was part of me, it was like, God, like, holy crap, he's just belting it out, and you can hear the layering, and you're like, is this too much? And then it's like, you're just so drawn into it because it's so good, and you want to hear it. You want Blackie to just,
I know,
just retching it out, and it's so good. You're totally right. A lot of the riffing and stuff in this, it's just straight on rock stuff. There's nothing crazy in there, but they're so well put together, and it just works. It's just good.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's just good rock. At its very core. I think. Speaking of, like those. Like that's like that is the selling point of the album. I think whenever a band can have some well placed whoa, that it's when it's placed so intentionally that it might as well be like a lyric of the song.
Those yas and woes end up being the hook,
he is very much like I am gonna he. That's just
WASP?
Fun to me. It's the heart of rock, and especially when it's like a 4-part. It's exciting. It's cool. It's ridiculous, but it's fun.
No, Tim said, he said it's hard for him to consider them. Yeah. But they toured with all those bands.
Yeah, they opened. Was it the Electric Circus? They went on tour for Maiden during the.
They toured with Maiden tour. Yeah, so it's like,
I can't remember.
They totally were all Metallica, Anthrax, they were on tour with all those bands. So it's like they're definitely a metal band, but it's hard rock riffing. It's just not by any stretch where they those guys are not. They weren't listening to, new wave British bands and stuff. They all grew up on classic stuff, and that's where all that kind of comes from. You listen to some of this, that's why I say it sounds more like Kiss sometimes,
for sure.
Stuff, but then you throw double bass on it, and it's like, wow, that's really cool,
Some of those early videos and early live appearances, even with Circus, let's be real. He is doing a Gene Simmons impression, with his body mannerisms, and 100%. He can do it really good, but very influenced, clearly.
Oh, for sure. You can't deny any of that by any stretch, and that and the little jig he dances when he plays live. That's kind of funny.
Like I said, I hadn't listened to W.A.S.P since the 80s. So to hear this album, I was actually more surprised at how good of an album it was. I listened to this album so many times this week that I was actually hearing it when I'm sleeping, when I'm waking up. I was almost.
It was Avantasia all over again, wasn't it?
It was much better than Avantasia.
Oh man!
But
I still got Avantasia in my head.
I felt like I had to listen to the album again because it was that good of an album. It's so different than what I traditionally listen to, but
Right.
This is an album I would listen to over and over.
Yeah, for real.
Joel's got a point here that, I mean, Rat, he says Rat was not really metal though. And man, Rat is kind of in the same boat as W.A.S.P. I think Rat played up the glam side a little bit more, even though they don't. I listened to their first 3 full-length albums still to this day, and they don't sound like a glam album band to me.
No, the first two
is there, but they've got the shredder guitar. Well, of course, glam had shredder guitar players, but there's more of a hard rock feel to that stuff. Other than the crap they were wearing and wearing some makeup and shit, but
no, the first two records had more in common with like Shout at the Devil or more like that stuff before the real hard glam stuff really started taking off. I mean, it seems like these bands, you get into that like 1983, 84 kind of space, 85, where the record companies were still kind of shaping this stuff. And so these bands still kind of had their own images that they were coming off the LA circuit, and they were still kind of sleazy and street urchin-y looking. And then, you get to be mid 80s, the late 80s, and then it's a
good point, Glenn.
Yeah.
They were.
You get these, the pink and the Dayglow colors and the, that crap. And, right?
Fuck a beast.
I believe that. I'm sure, like, some of I would love to have been at some of those shows early on. I'm sure they were absolutely out of control.
Right.
In a good way. I'm sure the energy was crazy.
Well, God, I mean, those guys, there were so many bands, so many guys, like I was saying earlier, like was it Malmsteen and the singer from Ron Keel was Steeler and stuff. They were in Steeler.
Actually, Ron Keel sang in W.A.S.P. early on too, before Blackie took over.
There's all these guys that were just up and down the circuit, trying to make a name, trying to get big. All these bands, it would have been insane. It would have been just absolutely crazy. I can't even, not even to get off the rabbit hole of how debauched and. It would have been just the music in and of itself, and just seeing everything that was happening at the time. And then you go up the road to the Bay Area, and then you've got all the bands that are coming out of there around the same, Metallica and Anthrax.
No, Metallica was an LA band initially. They were born in LA.
True.
Oh, and, you're right.
And then they moved to San Francisco.
I stand corrected. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, but the other bands though. But still, this whole time frame, when everything was formative, and the pupation of all this stuff.
You know what, Ion Farmer? That's 100% correct. It's a lot. And Metallica's "Ride the Lightning" in a lot of ways was the Nirvana Nevermind of the era. I mean, not only did Metallica kind of single-handedly kill the glam era, so did it was between them and Nirvana.
Yeah,
I mean, really, they kind of reset the playing field a lot.
Yeah, because there was nobody. I mean, between them and Nirvana, nobody paid any attention. They were either looking at Metallica or they were looking at Seattle, and it's just kind of what was going on at the time.
And really, for the time, I think it was time for glam to die.
Oh man,
it had really kind of.
That shit just got an expiration date. It's like youth, It's I
agree with
that
you.
Shit is built to expire. It lives about as long as a good bender does.
And the glam scene burned hot. It burned hot and hard for a good many years, but it certainly, like you said, had an expiration date for sure.
I always resented the idea that any of those bands ever got called metal in the first place, because most of them really didn't have anything metal about them. I mean, what was ever metal about Poison? I mean, it's like, come on. They were a rock and roll band. They were a hard rock band.
They were a country band in a lot of ways. It's like, well, I'm always riding that dusty road.
Every road has its own.
Yeah.
The Electric Banana. There is some stuff like on Slave to the Grind. There are some tracks on that record that are actually pretty powerful. I will agree with that. I've listened to that.
A lot
record.
of people say this too, and I had this album recently. I was going to spin it, but I ended up sending it to Alan.
Slave to the Grind is fantastic.
Yeah, there is some good stuff on it. I've listened to it a couple times, and I mean, there's a couple tracks that just, no thanks, but there's some really killer shit on there, and yeah, I mean, you still have these bands that were, kind of riding the fence, as it were.
What bands are you speaking of? Thrash or be thrashed? I'm curious.
Steel Panther.
Steel Panther is like kind of like a mockery. They're great at what they do, and they're funnier than shit.
I think it's great. I think I give them 2 thumbs way up, because they get up there and say all that stuff, and then just tell everybody eat shit, and I think it's great.
And I watched like their Vakken performance here not too long ago, and it's just fun, man. Yeah. I mean, I can see how it could piss some people off, but who cares? It's fun. It's supposed to be, they're picking at everybody. It's
by all means, by all means, and it's still a big middle finger to the
Mingle
people
Fingle.
Mingle Fingle. It's still one of these, to everybody that's trying to clutch their pearls and be offended by everything, where they're just like, you know what, shut up. We're going to get up here and we're going to sing a bunch of songs about fat chicks and whatever. And it is what it is. Get over it, and I think it's cool,
Where are we at? We're still on the, how's it sit within their catalog? Chris Fulton.
I've already brushed on that.
Yeah, you did? Okay. Chris Boris?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
Just to reiterate, it was like I hadn't listened to the band since the 80s, and then like there was a whole couple of decades that I missed, and I'm hoping to find more albums by them that I will really like. I mean, I went back and I listened to The Headless Children. There were a couple of tracks on it that kind of just like, this is kind of a little boring, but there were some rippers on it for sure. And then I don't know if I listened to Crimson Idol or not in that process. Definitely did not listen to anything past Unholy Terror yet. So hopefully there's something in there that is along the same lines of Unholy Terror, because this I give a thumbs up for this for sure.
Sure.
I listened to a little bit of the immediate following, the one immediately preceding this record. I listened to like the first track or two, but I didn't listen to it long enough for it to make an impression on me yet on anything. So
okay.
It's cool because like the Crimson Idol, that's Blackie's rock opera. He wanted to make a story about the rise and fall of a rock star, and it's cool. I mean, it's probably pretty tongue in cheek. It's been done a million times, but just a good album. Chris B.
Concept album.
Yeah, concept album.
Yeah,
I think Headless Cross is after it too.
He's got there's like 2 records, one after the other, that talk about this character, Jonathan Beale or Jonathan something or other. And I was listening to it, and there's some lyrics where one thing is like just strictly a spoken word, where he's like just talking about, my dad's nickname was Red, and he didn't have red hair, but the name always stuck. And then my older brother became Little Red, and then I came, and it just talks about how Dad, didn't like him, but loved the older brother, and used to beat him up and whatever. And so there's this character. I've kind of refrained from going too far off into anything, because I want to kind of go out and figure this out and look at some of these and check it out. So that's why I didn't dig too deep going in that direction past this record. I kind of went backwards and listened a little more to the old stuff to kind of refresh those juices and stuff. But it's really dark. I was really kind of like, holy crap, But it's like, is this something from a personal place or whatever, But yeah, he's got a lot of conceptual stuff going on, and it's just crazy,
That was very surprising for me.
This band, to come from, Love Machine and Fuck Like a Beast to, I'm gonna sing this song about this little kid getting whipped by his dad, and then this whole emotional journey. It's like, It's just crazy, but I just think it's so cool. I'm just so absolutely impressed to see that, growth and the change in him as an artist and a musician, and then this record to be so good. I'm just, I'm really anticipating looking back and checking out more of the catalog again. It's cool.
Yeah.
Same here.
I guess, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, this has been a surprising and, to me, really nice band to include in this series that we're doing, because this has really changed my mind on this band. I had no idea. I'm not saying they're like, oh my god, they're so deep, it's genius.
No,
but, I mean it's
damn right, yo, grandpa metal.
It's been interesting. I have gotten. I love when I can realize that I appreciate something I didn't realize that I appreciated. So.
Ion Farmer, it's cool. I think you're right. I think it's way underrated.
You go, Ion Farmer.
Yeah.
You tell it like it is.
A lot of new names here in the chat tonight, folks. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, awesome.
Chris, did you want to talk about how it sits in the catalog? Chris Boris?
I kind of did. I kind of mentioned just how. Well, I guess I'll say this too. Yeah, to me, this kind of seems like this could almost have come right after Crimson Idol. If it did, it probably would be like a pretty nice little. It would have been the logical continuation to me. But no, I think it sits really nice. I think it was probably another breath of life into the band at the time. I think the album was Kill Fuck Die the one right before this. I think
no, it's Kill Fuck Die and then Heldorado and then
Heldorado. Okay, well, I think at least like they did have some universally panned albums in between, So I think this probably kept them somewhat respected. So yeah, it probably came. This is a good one in their discography. And then otherwise, I was just kind of earlier. I mentioned just the Blackie's personal life and his belief structure was kind of changing, and how he that this album is notable because they were going through some personal changes and lineup changes. It sounds like like longtime members leaving and whatnot, and it ended up still being pretty good.
Hey, cheers, Ion Farmer. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for buying the shirt. And I guess it'd be a good time to say, I didn't put it in the description, but if you want a heavy metallurgy shirt, they're pretty cool. Artwork done by Nate Burns, and it's in the spirit of
so cool.
Bolt throwers.
Get yours.
There is no law. Yes,
get yours. I got mine.
Shop.binderecordings.com. There is a shirt up there for you to check out. For me, how does it sit in the their catalog? This is the first, other than Heldorado, which I think is a largely mediocre album. There's some killer songs on it. There's some garbage on it, but still it's a Wasp album, so it's cool. But for being the post-2000, this is the first album I've heard, and man, I'm encouraged. It sounds great. I don't need deep music. If the songs are well written and you've got that strong character up front vocally selling it, oh man, the first time I listened to it, I'm just kind of like, holy fuck, it's as solid as the early stuff. It may not be as deep as, Headless Children. It may not be, musically as deep as Crimson Idol. It's just a blunt object with an amazing singer on. And, the songs are well written. Are they reinventing the wheel? They're not. But do we care? Do we really need that? I mean,
as long as it's catchy, it's memorable.
Yeah. Good songs.
I appreciate catchiness way more than I ever have in my life.
I'm a sucker for.
I love a good ass catchy song. I don't even care anymore. It's just fun, and I don't like having to work for my music anymore. At least right now. So
there's a time and place for busy, unique, proggy, whatever. But I find the older I get, the less and less I gravitate towards it. It's nice to have it in the arsenal if I want to listen to it, but
oh yeah,
man, I'd rather just, be cooking dinner and air guitaring in the middle of my kitchen like a dork than, sitting there, with my protractor trying to figure out
pad of paper and a calculator.
Yeah.
Have
an abacus going, okay, how many riffs? And,
I mean, you guys well know, I like a lot of that stuff. I mean, I got,
me too.
My
I do too, for sure.
My Portal records right there.
Can't see it.
But the lights are. Should I get it out?
A lot of this just depends on your mood at the time. I mean, you're not always in the mood to digest a really complex album. Sometimes you just want to cook dinner. Yep. And WASP is pretty good for that.
Yeah, and Portal, they have their place, and their visual aesthetic is cool, and they completely appeal to metalheads' affinity for bands wearing masks or clocks on their head. But man, their music to me is just there's nothing musical to grab onto. It's just a wall of war metal with some stuff thrown in here and there. But
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I guess we'll go on to the next one here. Production. TJ, what do you think of the production?
Well, it's kind of average, kind of what you would expect.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not
great. The guitars are kind of buried. Mm-hmm. Some of the drum stuff, there's a lot of high frequencies and stuff. It's, I don't know. I mean, I think they got the Bill Metoyer budget mix, or whatever. And, I've heard far worse. I think we all have, but it's all right. But again, Blackie's voice is just destroying everything. It's just living in front and being carried along. You know
what? For me, though, that's fine because it's the focal point of the album. It's the selling point to the album.
It is.
Why not have it in front?
Yeah, I mean,
put your best foot forward.
I definitely agree with that. I mean,
for sure,
it's so solid.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not so obnoxious that it you're paying more attention to the way it's mixed than the songs, because it's just everything is so. You just get right in and right away it's just it's good and. So ultimately, it's it leaves a little to be desired, but it's nothing. It just, I enjoy it. I listened to it exclusively on headphones, and
I'm not saying it's bad,
No,
there were times where maybe I did say it's bad, but I at times, what's the first track here? This
Let it roar.
Let it something.
Let it roar.
Let it roar. Let it roar.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite songs on the album, if not my very favorite. Probably followed by Hate to Love Me. That's a really good song too. But anyway, Let It Roar. I feel like the production was so wally to the point where it was a bit kind of boomy, muddy in my earphones. Actually, I was on a walk listening to it, and I was like. I like what's going on right now, but it's just a lot. It was, I felt it was a little bit muddy at times, but still good. I mean, it's not to the point where it detracts from the album really to me at all. But I did feel like it was a little muddy at times, and with I wish I would have heard guitars more, for instance. Even on headphones.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Chris F., what'd you think? Production.
Nothing stood out to me as. Imbalanced in the mix, and I think that's just because the riffs and the drums were so solid, along with Blackie's vocals just backing it up. There wasn't anything that stood out production wise, but I did listen to it headphones and in my car, and in the car I've got it EQ'd a little bit, so perhaps that's part of the reason it sounded good to me as well.
Right on.
I did see some people talking about maybe the drums being a bone of contention too. With
our friend Chris Maycrock from
I will say on headphones the toms sounded huge. They sounded cool to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name of this drummer, but he does some masterful big rock as my friend Ken from Pan says, falling down the stairs drum riffs. Just like, and that can be really fun. And the drums were not reinventing the wheel, nor was any of it, but it just had that big rock energy. And there was some really cool hi-hat work
toms,
too.
I mean, I definitely heard some toms in some really cool places, some really unique spots that gave some shine to the drummer. I honestly don't even know who's playing drums on the album, which shame on me for not knowing that.
I can tell you, it is Frankie Benelli.
Oh.
From Rest in Peace, from pancreatic cancer, died in 2020. Wow. He plays drums on tracks.
He was Quiet Riot.
Yeah, Quiet Riot. And also,
that makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised no one's mentioned Quiet Riot yet.
Frankie Benelli plays on half the album, and the other half, Stet Howland plays drums. So there's two drummers on this album.
Okay.
For me, production-wise, I honestly did not think much about it. I wish I had the CD to listen to, because it's obviously a clearer, crisper, non-compressed version of the album. I've listened to it through Spotify on my little JBL, Bluetooth thing, which sounds pretty good. But, I never once, our friend Chris Maycock from High Spirits was saying that the album is easy to pick apart, like nitpick the small things. Like he said, the cymbals sound like trash. He's a drummer. So, I mean, I get he could pick that out, but that never occurred to me. And you guys are saying the guitars are low. I heard the guitars just fine, and especially like the solos, they cut really good.
Solos cut for sure. Yeah,
and so it never really. Nothing about the album was detracted from the experience of the production. I thought, Blackie's way out in front, but he's you got to swing to your strengths, and he's obviously the strength of this band, and he's the main vision of this band. And why wouldn't you put a little highlight on that voice? He doubled the tracks. He's right out front, and he's where the music might be an unfaltering foundation. His voice is the thing that adds the color to the music. Totally does. You gotta, like I said, you gotta highlight your strong points. So for me, the production, it sounds fine, through compressed from space through the interwebs or whatever, through Bluetooth. It sounded fine. Like I said, it'd be interesting to hear the CD and actually put it on a system and listen to it. But
I mean, I get that would be the way to. I mean, it was fine.
Such a great song.
Just looking for something to say. It's like, well, if it was this or that, I'd say, well, for my money, I would have liked to have heard this change or this different. But ultimately, it was fine for the record.
Yeah, it's got a mean sound, and on the more ballad-esque songs, everything's there. You can hear everything. The drums, I didn't pay much attention to at all, to be honest. They're there holding the beat. It didn't, it's not like if there was like a really, Brand Daler from Mastodon playing drums, it might have been, it perked ears,
right.
That may have been a distraction to what was being done. It would have been out of place,
Oh yeah.
Is it me, or does Meet Thy Maker sound roughly like Wild Child? I mean, that's going to happen,
Yeah.
I absolutely thought that.
Yeah.
All right. So production, we went through artwork. I could say some things about the artwork. Go ahead, TJ. What do you think about the artwork?
It is what it is. I don't know. A lot of these record, I was looking back at some of these and some of these other ones, and they look like stuff that they put together in the production office. I mean, whether or not Blackie had any input on this, I don't know. But I get it, considering that this is supposed to be like an issues record, and, he's talking about whatever, things that are going on in society and whatever. And then he's obviously, exploring, lyrically, he's going through, what's going on with him and in his heart and in his head about stuff. So there's some symbology and things here that I get, but in terms of whatever, it's nothing to really care too much about or worry about. It's on the record. It's a kind of okay, but whatever.
Chris F., our resident visual
graphic designer,
our graphic designer guy. What do you think?
I mean, I can get what they're doing with the simplicity of the album, the design of it, trying to convey a message. Does it convey holy terror, unholy terror to me? No, there's nothing about it that's
pretty juvenile.
It's just kind of like piecemeal, like the old school Photoshop where you take, and you piece piece of clip art with another piece of clip art.
Clip art flames. What do you mean? Those are original.
It's an amazing album cover.
Blackie gazed into the hibachi with his iPhone.
Would I stare at it like somewhere in time, a million hours? No, not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing you're really picking up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. Chris B.
Me? Oh, I was. Yeah. No. I was going to ask if you would maybe hand me one of those through the computer. It's like, is that possible? Oh. Thanks.
If you had one, you could do like the little switcheroo.
Just kidding.
What are your thoughts, Chris, beyond the artwork?
Me? Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's corny. It's corny, but that's just kind of what you're getting into with W.A.S.P. You have to be able to set some of that aside a little bit, and I guess like the production, it is what it is, and it doesn't really detract it. It's fine. It's W.A.S.P. That's what you're gonna get. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Blah.
Yeah.
Pretty
much blah.
Whatever.
I'm sure Blackie
scribble this out and blah blah. I mean,
Blackie probably had some big high-minded ideas behind what's on here, and to some degree I get it. I can kind of see the symbology that they're trying.
Well, they're hitting you over the head with the symbology. It's pretty. It's pretty
right.
obvious.
It's too obvious. That's exactly what it is. It's just like.
I mean, it's
okay.
There's it's kind of a lot of visually mixed metaphors and stuff. It's I don't know. It's just, it is what it is.
If I saw it at the record store, I would not just grab it. I'd be like,
right. I don't mind corny.
In a couple of decades, and that's going back. But if it was like like the old Cannibal Corpse albums that used to intrigue me back in the day, you'd grab the CD, you'd see the cover, and holy crap, I got to get this album.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. I would probably put it back on the shelf if I saw the W.A.S.P cover.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know about this album now, holy crap. I mean,
I got a lot of W.A.S.P to buy now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, for me, the artwork, it's early 2000. Who was it that said it? Yeah, Glenn said it's early 2000s for you. It is. And let's be honest. If you're flipping through the racks, the only thing that's making you going, oh, fuck, I'm buying this is because it's got W.A.S.P on the cover. If you're a W.A.S.P fan, you're buying it regardless. Is it that cover art going to appeal to someone that doesn't know W.A.S.P? They're not going to look, oh, fuck, man, this cover is hot. No, it's not. It's just a bunch of random clip art and an
it is literally hot. There are flames.
Yeah, there are some clip art flames.
Note the flames.
But
metal.
Yeah, if it doesn't detract from it, I just look at it from, being in a band and doing a label thing. Is your artwork is your selling point? I mean, is it going to look good on a t-shirt? I'm not going to buy a t-shirt with this artwork on it. Sorry. It's not happening. And that when you're playing live, that's how a band makes its money these days is their merch. They're not doing it in album sales. That's, they're going out there to live off their merch. And if your merch doesn't look good, it's not going to sell. We've, as bands have seen that before. Other bands we've played with. If the merch isn't good, it's not going to sell, man. No one's going to wear your shit. I don't care how good of a band you are. You're going to pay $25 for like Iron Maiden. I saw Iron Maiden once, and I bought a t-shirt that was $45 but it was killer. It was worth buying. Would I pay $45 for a W.A.S.P t-shirt with that album cover? Nah, not happening. Before we get into final judgment, I want to talk about favorite and least favorite songs. What do you think, TJ?
Well, my favorites on this are Ravenheart is my favorite. Blackie is just he is so insane on that track. I mean, he just never stops screaming on that track.
Oh, that's interesting.
it just I want to listen to it right now. I'm just so hooked on that track. And then Let It Roar with you, Mr. B. I think that's such a good song. And then Charisma. I really like what he did there. Well, actually, because that song's like two parts because he's got the little
brother, hit up the Bandcamp, man.
And but it's there's a lot going on there and the lyrical stuff. And then that song Evermore. It's so kind of derivative when it starts out, and it's like all I can see is like Axl Rose, doing his thing when it kind of starts, but then on repeated listens, it's like after you get past that first little refrain of the song, it really kind of improves, and I really kind of enjoyed it. But ultimately, Ravenheart, Let It Roar, and Charisma are my favorites. And then Baby Jane, I just can't. Just that he says "baby," who slayed Baby Jane like 50 times in that song.
I don't really get it. I tried. Yeah. I even looked up the lyrics to that. I was like, it was like, we're gonna do some King Diamond kind of, who killed the baby? I don't really get it. The lyrics are very vague and weird.
It's a very weird kind of outlier in terms of everything else that's going on in that record. So I don't know. Maybe he thought it was going to be a radio single or something. I don't know. It's and I have to say, I want to say too, like I was really taken back by the spots in the record where he shows a lot of range that I just wasn't accustomed to hearing him do. You're so used to his kind of his main. The main voice he uses when he does the verse and stuff, and then when he gets into the choruses and stuff, and then he kicks it all up into high gear. But then you get into tracks like Unholy Terror and Charisma and Euphoria, and he does these, like, he's got like a falsetto that he does, and then this kind of softer thing. And I was really kind of surprised, because at one point I was like, is there somebody else singing on this record with him, and besides the obvious backups and doubling and stuff, but I was just like, wow. And it's so good. His voice is just so cool. But yeah, for my money, those three tracks are definitely just killer.
How about you, Chris F?
I mean, I definitely agree with all three tracks that Teach pointed out. The exact same three tracks come to mind when I think of the album. I did learn something about myself with this album. Ravenheart, for example, I find myself liking songs named after birds. I don't know what the deal is. Where Eagles Dare, Iron Maiden. Revenge is a Vulture.
Does it have anything to do with the number birds and the number 46? So it's just like
Iced Earth, When the Eagle Cries.
Oh my God. The cheesiest fucking video ever made.
Avantasia or Raven Child. I mean, if it's got bird in it, I'm gonna like it. There's something about
it. That's a good track too. I mean, there's some other ones that are just really well, but those three, Ravenheart is just. I mean, yeah, for sure, man.
How about you, Chris B?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna take a contradictory or whatever you want to call it, a different opinion. On one song, which I will tell you, but my favorites were absolutely the song "Blasted Out of the Gates" with "Let It Roar." That song is awesome. It's big and cool and fun. "Hate to Love Me," I really like "Hate to Love Me." It's just good. Like it's got a little sleaze to it, and it's just got a lot of I don't know. That's a really fun one. Yeah, the whole Unholy Terror into Charisma is pretty cool. Yeah. And actually, you know what? I found myself. I think that that kind of instrumental break, Euphoria. I do think that was well placed in the album. It's
That's like a pretty song.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's kind of simple. But it's simple. Like it really does serve as like the oasis, the desert oasis.
I was expecting Ozzy or Phil Anselmo to come out and start singing.
I was getting visions. I was getting visions in Euphoria. I was out on a walk and I was like listening to it, and like it really sucked me in whatever mood I was in. And I was literally on a camel, and like you couldn't see anything, and like the only the path wasn't clear, but all you could make out was like the reflection of the moonlight on Blackie's hairspray, and it all became clear at that point. No, Euphoria is a pretty cool track actually, but the one that I was gonna kind of have a different opinion on was Ravenheart actually, and that kind of comes back to it's a cool song, but it comes back to the vocals. That one, there's a lot of soaring choruses,
Raven.
Oh, I love it.
And to me, like that particular chorus got a little bit like it was just all so damn high all the time. To me, it was like, all right, I need a little bit more like, let's come down. I don't know. It almost became like it was like an ice pick into my temple.
Well, that's what I was saying. But that's what I was saying is like there's parts of the record where he's just up. He's up here so much.
Yeah.
In the record, and there's a moment where your brain's like, man, is it too much? But then I'm just like, no. I want to hear it. You want it. You want to hear, and it's just. So,
I want it too, but I don't know that particular one. That was just especially you will listen to my high vocals and you will listen to them good.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get what you mean for sure.
But still, a great track. There isn't a bad song on the album.
That to me too, and I didn't go through and make notations because to me the Sweet Baby Jane song, that was the one that stood out to me as being the least favorite of the batch. But do I hate it? No. I mean, there isn't a song on here that I listen to like, I wish this song wasn't on it. I honestly
like Maniac.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
it's just the lyrics are silly on the Sweet Baby, whatever the fuck,
Sweet
whatever
Baby
that song
Jane
is.
or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
But I listened to the album as a whole, and I really appreciate the care they took in pacing the album. It isn't just all bangers and I know here's a ballad, then bangers. There's a lot of ups and downs throughout the material, and that's a band needs to sit and look. It's just the pacing of your album is just as important as the songs themselves. I mean, it keeps the listener trained from beginning to end. You always want to start hard, end hard, but in the middle, there's got to be peaks and valleys, and they did it on this album quite effortlessly. And the lead off track, what the fuck songs?
Let It
Roar.
Let It Roar, yeah. And
Euphoria letting it roar. Oh God.
Yeah, and
what
God,
am
man,
I doing?
I just really can't. I really can't understate how good Blackie is on this fucking album. He sounds so good. It really sells all the material. I don't know, man. I like I said,
that is such a great song. I love that song.
I really can't. Even the Sweet Baby Jane song, I don't hate it. It's just out of the batch, it was the one that I gravitated to first as being, they could have done a little different things here and there with the concept of the lyrics, but still a good song.
I have one more thing.
Yep.
So if there's any DJs out there and you're into remixing hot tracks, when I found myself listening to the song Evermore, which is the second to last song of the track, I don't know why, but every single time I spin this track, You Can Sing, Marshall Tucker Band, Can't You See What That Woman Done to Me? You can sing that over that song and it matches up perfectly. So I don't know, remix possibilities, anyone? I don't know. But yeah, give it a try. Listen to Evermore and then sing Marshall Tucker over it. It matches up absolutely perfect.
That's funny. Right on.
My brain instantly went to that song. I was like, this is the same chords. But no.
There is a band that Blackie Lawless moved out. I'm trying to think. Anybody in the chat would know. There was an old-timey band that he was going to be in or tried out for. Oh fuck! I'm trying to find it here online. It's like an old style rock and roll band. It's like very popular. Mott the Hoople pops up into my head, but I don't think that's correct. Does anybody in the chat know?
You're saying Blackie was offered a position in this
before
now
WASP,
popular band?
Yeah, before all that WASP and shit, he was in California. He was going to be in like this old rock band. We're going to be in this old rock band that's very popular. But you could tell that he's got old school rock roots all the way back into the the 70s.
Totally.
And stuff, for sure.
That's what kind of brought me around on him. Is he's really got that 70s sensibility.
And if anybody knows, put it in the chat. But I can't remember it now. My brain is old and filled with so much garbage. It's not even funny. I get everything wrong anymore. But
mostly White Claws.
Yeah, mostly White Claws and probably early onset Alzheimer's. We'll see. Oh no, it wasn't. Was it the New York? Maybe he was. It was a bigger band. That could be right. Let me see here. Let me type it in. Sorry, everybody. Talk amongst
New York
yourselves.
Dolls.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So Grant began playing with bands such as Black Rabbit and Orphax Rainbow in '75 after Johnny Thunders left glam rock band New York Dolls. In the middle of a tour of Florida, the band started auditioning for guitarist. Lawless was hired, but only stayed for the remainder of the tour.
Okay. So I'm not crazy. I knew. And you want to talk about, American glam metal. They were the progenitors of that.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe that's where people want to classify, Blackie as, W.A.S.P. as glam. He's got those roots. He was in that scene during that era, but, W.A.S.P. has kind of transcended that whole glam thing pretty well instantly, really. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, that was just a little sidebar that popped into my head. But
yeah.
Let's end this on Judgment. Final thoughts. TJ.
I think the record was great. I will probably buy it tonight before I go to bed. If I can find a cheap copy.
I was going to say, I don't think this one's been recently repressed.
No.
Good luck. Nothing's cheap anymore.
Yeah, it'll be a used one somewhere, but I'm going to go shopping a little bit before
I go Discogs.
Go nighty-night. And I definitely think I'm... and you're welcome that I picked this one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a great conversation point.
Yeah, for sure. And I was definitely thrilled to hear it and enjoy it so much. I'm glad because I really didn't know what to expect. I figured it was going to kind of be like, it's okay, whatever. And I was just like, man, just, I'll be listening to this a little more for sure.
Mr. Curtis.
Yeah, the album definitely gets approval from me. I will listen to this album again. It's going to be it's one of those things too, like even with my wife, we go on road trips sometimes and we like to have set lists
simp.
On Spotify. and those kind of things are a great album to share while still having a conversation.
Sure.
Basically, great album, great pick, Tej. I think it far exceeded my expectations. I was expecting it to be some pretty cheesy rock, and it was much better than that. Very catchy, memorable. And like I said, I listened to it so much, I think I was almost sick from it. I'm not kidding.
In a good way.
It's playing while I'm sleeping. It's playing when I'm waking up. It's playing while I'm showering, then I'm off on the car, and there I am listening to it again.
Mr. B.
Yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I've learned a lot about W.A.S.P. and great choice, TJ. That was sick.
You're welcome.
Hey,
I'm sure my next one will fail.
Probably.
All our friends out there on the Glorious Album Club. So 2022, 2023, I see that W.A.S.P. is going on a 40th anniversary tour. And maybe we all meet up. Maybe we all meet up there and go be fanboys. We'll be like all our newfound Blackie appreciation. I don't know. Someone set it up.
Hey, we could all wear our assless chaps to the thing. It'd be pretty sweet, like the old days.
Yeah.
Hey, Ion Farmer, thanks, man. It's been a lot of fun doing these for sure. We really appreciate you watching.
Yeah, thanks for everyone to watching and those two as well participate in the chat.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun hearing and seeing.
To everyone watching, you're welcome.
Oh, I'm not done yet. I have to give my opinion
there's
here.
more.
Hold on. Final thoughts. I didn't think it was going to suck. I was surprised that TJ picked this. It was just so out of the blue, and I was quite impressed with this choice, to be honest. And I knew W.A.S.P were great. Everything I own by them, I like. This was a very big deal for me hearing post 2000 W.A.S.P. And I'm definitely going to pursue the other albums that I have not heard. And, are they going to suck? No, they're not going to suck. Blackie's not going to make them suck. But, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. And I'm probably going to buy this record. It's, this stuff isn't things I'm like actively searching for, like buying. But if it turns up, I'm going to buy it for sure. And if I can get it cheap.
$40 on eBay. And
that,
none on Discogs.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll stream it. No thanks.
Wow, look at this. Blackie is 65 now. Holy shit, balls.
Yeah. The time is now to go see these guys, man. This shit ain't,
maybe
ain't
not
around forever.
Maybe not.
Hey, speaking of good graphics, look at Dreadful Minutes. I mean, that logo is awesome,
dude. Dreadful Minutes. Rick is the thumbnail.
Rick is
master.
a really wonderful man and a really talented, incredibly smart man. Who's got a fantastic channel.
Yep.
And if you don't for some reason know who he is, like, get on his fucking train, because he'll show you all kinds of fantastic music.
Yeah, he's a hell of a guy. He's, this whole YouTube thing, I've been afforded the luxury of meeting some awesome people, and Rick is definitely in there. Go check out the Dreadful Minutes, everybody. He's a graphic designer by trade. That's what he does for a living. And, all the thumbnails he does for Jeff's channel, his own channel. He's done some stuff for us. He designed the Heavy Metallurgy logo, all that stuff. And he's great. Absolutely great. It's good to have him here. And it's good to have all of you folks here, too. Thank you. We hit like 42 people tonight, which for these little Wednesday streams.
New record.
New record.
Love it.
Drink.
But again, we want to say Heavy Metallurgy shirts. Go to shop.binaryrecordings.com. Also, we're in the band The Glorious Dead. If you want to check us out, go to Spotify, look up The Glorious Dead. Our album Into Lifeless Shrines is up there for you to listen to. We just finished tracking all the music for our second album, Cemetery Paths, which will be coming out sometime. It still needs to be mixed and mastered.
And then we have to wait for the vinyl.
Yep. And then our dear brother Chris Boris up there in the upper right corner. He is also in the band Pan, who finished.
Yes, sir.
Well, they haven't finished. They're recording.
We're recording too. Yeah.
Their fourth album, and that'll be coming out eventually. And there'll be new merch and all that stuff too. Go to their Bandcamp page. Check out our Bandcamp page. We have a YouTube channel. It's got some live stuff up on it. Look up The Glorious Dead. I didn't put any links in the description because I suck. But
week 4, we'll start putting links in there so you can see our shit.
Yeah, Ion Farmer, we have vinyl for our debut album and also a 7-inch. It's on shop.binaryrecordings.com.
Do we have any cassettes left?
Yeah, there's still a few rehearsal cassettes also that are pretty primitive at this point. But hey, But we've had a great. Oh, before we go, Mr. B, it's your turn to choose. What is the next album we are going to be perusing on this little album club?
I do think this is going to be really good. I don't know if it's. I hope it measures up to the conversation ability that WASP has been. Hello.
Hold on, you froze.
Right,
Start again. You froze.
Are we here?
We can see up your nose.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Count all your nose hairs. Yeah.
That's pretty rock and roll right there. So I've had this album sitting on my desk for a few months now. I've been meaning to listen to it. I'm a big fan of what I've heard anyway of some Mortification. We're gonna get into maybe some another side project of what is this? Jason Sherlock.
Yep.
Let's dive. This has been a band that I've just heard just a few minutes of them, but from what I've heard, it's been the vibe I was getting was like powerful. This is really cool shit. If you don't know Paramecium,
exhumed of Earth,
exhumed of the Earth, exhumed of
the Earth,
the Earth.
This I've heard about just a couple minutes of it. It seems absolutely killer. There's some old school My Dying Bride. Very gothic. It's like Australian, and they're into that. They're in the the Christian death metal, all that stuff. I think that was a really neat time in 90s death metal, and I cannot wait to dive into that record and I'll let you know what I think. I've really only heard just a couple minutes of this, so this has been sitting on my desk, and I've been meaning to whatever, dive in. So
it's a great album. It's a great album. And
yeah.
If you were to walk into a Christian bookstore back in the day, it would have said, "If you like My Dying Bride, now you will like Paramecium."
Yeah.
if you like My Dying Bride but don't want to go to hell,
back in the day, they still do it. They still do it.
Yeah.
You go on the threads and on the forums, and it's just like, hey, everybody, do you know of any bands that sound like every other band? It's like, I always go on and I'm like, no, none of them do. Either listen to them or don't. And then I name the top 10 Christian metal bands, and then everybody's like, oh, that's not true. And, man, yeah, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, right on. But yeah, that's a great one.
We're going to try to, this
it
is
absolutely
kind of
crushes.
It's freaking sweet from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I think we're going to try to do this weekly. We're kind of hem-hawing about whether, I'm sure sometimes we'll have to skip a week, but I think we're going to at least try to do this weekly. So everybody out there, if you want to listen to Paramecium and Exhumed of the Earth, and maybe come back and see us next week, and we'll talk about it. And I appreciate you all being here. This has been so fun.
I want to say, too, in light of him picking Paramecium, I also want to say to the listeners that they should look up the drummer, Jason Sherlock.
He's been in a lot of shit.
And follow, dig up on him, because he's got a band out now that's called Revulsed. That's absolutely brutal, super sick. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff. Horde is one.
L.A. Goosefart, his one and only Norwegian black metal. If you don't want to go to hell, listen to this instead. It's a really great album. It's a great album.
Yeah, but he's Jason Sherlock is by far and away one of the shining stars of that subculture of a subculture. And so I would recommend, definitely checking him out and some of his previous stuff as well. But
it's fairly clear to say that after he left Mortification, that band took a serious.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question.
Took a dump in the holy water.
Yeah, there's no question. Yeah, I mean, I give Steve Rowe all the credit in the world. He carried that band along, and to his credit, I mean, they've got a huge fan base, and but it's just terrible. I mean, even Post Momentary Affliction was. I don't like that record. People
it's passable, but that was the last one.
I like that album. I think it's still pretty cool.
There's like 3-4 good songs on it, and then it's just meh. I don't know. The first two albums are mandatory stuff. It's so good. Production.
I think there's a lot of cool shit coming out of Australia in general, man. There's a lot. I mean, I'd love to go see some shows in Australia.
I don't want to sit on a plane
kind of
for
energy.
4 days. Sitting on a plane for 4 days would suck ass.
We'd probably all die of a blood clot if we tried to go to Australia, I think.
Yeah, probably. Plane, at our age and girth, yeah, we wouldn't.
Australia!
Woo!
Yeah.
Heck.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us on this Wednesday night. We're gonna get Alan on one of these days. He's a super busy guy, and
hey, you know what? Probably when the semester's over.
Yeah. And also, Friday, tune in to Heavy Metallurgy. It's myself and King Fowley from Deceased. We will be going through the entire KISS catalog. Hopefully we'll get through the whole thing. I'm sure we'll both have a lot to say. Alan will be out. He's on a family trip this week, but he will be back next week for sure. But thank you everybody for joining us, guys. Again, I love you all. You have a great, thanks for joining me on this, brothers. And everybody, we'll see you around later. Hey, tell your friends about Heavy Metallurgy. We want to get more people watching our shows, man.
Yeah. This is places where it's at, man. Friday night goes off. So we want to see you all there.
Yeah, Professor Steele. That's fucking Alan. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Cheers.
Bye-bye.